inheritance for all of you. So, family too. Just to give you a bit of history how this started, was after the aftermath of 8th March. Many of us were emotionally affected, and one of the first things that Mr. Chia Song saw, is the Chia Song Choi of the education group said, we got organized. I said, okay, I know the Association of Asia Pacific Physical Society would like to organize a special memorial session during the Sarawak conference next, hosting after maybe 27 years, the 27 years in Malaysia. So I thought that's too long, because we wanted to memorialize this year. Then Alex he's on the way from Penang. He organized the students from IFM Memorial, and he wanted to organize a seminar. So I said, hey Alex, we got the teachers who want to give a sort of a memorial, and why don't you and the teachers get together, and 3 friends will come in, and we will chat. Don't make it too technical. Don't make it too technical, because the audience is quite a mixed crowd. Someone just asked me, am I a theoretical physics? I think I'm a pseudo. More computational, not in the likes of SPH. I think just get them all moving. Just get our hook to the memory of SPH chair. I would like to read what Professor Darshan framed, and I hope some of you have seen the tributes. The departure of my friend Chia Swee Peng from the University of Malaya. My friend Chia Swee Peng, physics professor from the University of Malaya, left us on March 8, 2018. I first met Swee Peng. Chia was his family name. And in Asia, last name was first. At the home of my good friend Tan Ming Tat in Kuala Lumpur, 1979. It was a side trip when I attended a physics conference organized by another good friend, K.K. Hua in Singapore. As I recall, Swee Peng returned to University of Malaya after receiving his doctorate in particle physics from the University of Illinois. Ming Tat was a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Minnesota when I was a graduate student, and became a faculty member of the University of Malaya where Swee Peng was. Since that time, Swee Peng and I remained in the next several decades in contact, although rather infrequently. The reason was that I seldom visit Malaysia, since the areas of physics I was interested in was not prevalent in the country. But I kept an eye on Swee Peng, because despite the fact that fundamental physics, and for sure particle physics, was not a major interest in Malaysia, he kept the field on a high profile in the country and the region. He worked closely with K.K. Hua in Singapore, actively organizing various physics conferences, either in Singapore or Malaysia. There is no question that in the past 4 decades, Swee Peng was one of the most visible physicists in Malaysia. While he was far from the center of particle physics, he actively participated with his fellow particle physics in Taiwan, China, and Korea. Indeed, in 1995, in the Malaysian Journal of Science, Swee Peng presented an account of the hot subject on CP violation. After I became senior vice president of Taiwan's National Cheng Kang University, I was told that there was a physicist in Malaysia who worked pro bono for the Malaysia independent schools in setting up physics examinations for students who qualify for universities in Taiwan. I was not surprised when I found out that the person was sweeping. As an outstanding physicist with excellent core knowledge and great enthusiasm for helping the next generation, Sweeping was certainly the best person for the job. Apparently, it wasn't just a one-year deal. It went on for more than several decades. Sweeping was a kind and gentle soul, even as Demo showed that probably I shall miss my friend. I think he put into a nutshell how we all feel about SP. Please give me a few minutes to. This is a snapshot of his research. His students will be doing some of the jobs. But as you recall, he always told me that the best years was the time he spent in Austin and in ICT. And the fond memories, always various anecdotes about ICT. I think Dr. Wu, you were probably there also. Some of his highly cited works, 1982, the neutron backbreak dipole moment in supersymmetry, still being cited. This was the one I presented during his award of his honorary fellowship. But I did it offhand, so another site work was this exact calculation of DSG vertex in 1983. Today there's 55 citations, last cited in 2015. After over 30 years, it shows. It was quite interested to do certain problems, but we just couldn't find the students to do that. Due to the challenging area of research, very few Malaysians have taken up, except for the crazy guys there. Another one is 1985, an exact calculation of the flavor changing quark proton vertex with the student Goraran. Last cited in 2017. So it's interesting to see that the person's work is always visible even after for perpetuity. And that's what most scientists and we aspire to, that our works get recognized even after they're gone. So radiating decay, I think there are many others. I only choose the to put it in a nutshell, he was among the few Malaysians trained in Malaysia who furthered their studies overseas. He won a Fulbright scholarship to pursue his PhD in high energy physics in Illinois. He returned to serve at University of Malaya in the mid-1970s. He has continued his research in an environment where research in theoretical physics was frowned upon. As soon as you say you're a theoretical physics, the guy you met for the first time will just move away in any occasion. This is some of the photos I could find. Somehow I lost it. The one at the top. Sorry. Okay. The leftmost is somehow is photo got truncated. This is conference paper he presented in December 2017 as an invited speaker. The one top right is when we won the bidding for the APPC, Asia Pacific Physics Conference 2019. This was in Beijing, and this was a recent photo during the conference. The SP is always in his element. Of course, the group photos, so this all been immortalized. We will gather all that. And this is, of course, one of the beautiful things about physicists, most of us, is the friendship we build throughout the world. There, the top left is, we were at the 32nd Council meeting in Tsinghua University, and it was a dinner hosted by, if I'm not mistaken, the Vice President. The one in the middle is the Vice President. Top right is the one we did in Awana for the IMFP 2013. Bottom right is the beautiful dinner that he hosted and organized in Lake Clark on December 3rd. And that's a photo with one of the family members. And of course, this was with with Professor Swan. Over 20 odd years, I've been the secretary and the president of IFM. I realized that we have never honored many of our fellows. So last year, something came up to me last May that we must honor some of our senior fellows. So last year we honored SB and Maslan. And we were fortunate, we did that on 5th of December. 5th of December. Yes. So goodbye, sir. IFM will miss you. Physics community will miss you. I will always miss you. Thank you. Alex was chasing me for the program. He said, this is a casual, a memorial service. It's going to be free and casual, right? So I hope you don't mind. I get the teachers. One teacher will start first and one student. Right? So you can alternate between each other. And then at 10:15 we take a short tea break. 10:30 we are back, and then we continue at 11:45. Some of his friends are coming late. Okay. This is jazz of choice. Oh, Chow, please. Oh, I forgot to inform the audience, colleagues present here. The daughter Chia is here, please, and son Chia was sitting here. Daughter Alex Lai, is it? Alex Lai is the son-in-law. Daughter-in-law Jacqueline Chan is here. Dr. Wu, I think all of you know. And his grandsons, Gareth and Julian. Right? Thank you for coming. Please come to the first.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for granting me this opportunity to speak in this memorial on the name of the program. This allowed me to relate from because that's what we consume. There's always been Prof was my physics lecturer when I was an undergraduate student in the 70s. So, years ago. At that time, it was just a student lecturer relationship. We're not that close really, but I was really, truly impressed by Prof. The way he delivers his lectures really shows that he's really an authentic physicist. Someone who really, I would say, knows his stuff really. He can present such a complicated subject in such a simple, down-to-earth ways to get you understand. A lot of the subjects, not just quantum physics, was not really easy to understand at that time. Then it didn't occur to me that after about almost 20 years now, in the 90s, that I had the honor and privilege to be able to work with Prof. In my capacity as the officer in the Malaysian Examinations Council, where I was in charge of the SPDM physics. Knowing him being a person of such excellent core knowledge of physics, I felt that it was really very important to work with him to help out in ensuring that the standards of SPDM physics examination is of a respected level. So I got him in as a moderator, and at the same time I also managed to get him to play a major role in the formulation of the new STPM physics syllabus in 1995. Because we wanted to have our own physics syllabus. Before 1995, we were actually borrowing the syllabus from Europe. So we wanted our very own national physics STPM physics syllabus. Prof was the one who actually spearheaded this venture to have a very own physics syllabus led everybody. I remember on one occasion during the launch of the new STPM physics syllabus, we ran into a lot of issues and problems. Because as with all new syllabuses, we will have to learn new procedures, methods of assessment, and so on. And it's not easy to get things going. We ran into a lot of problems initially, but it is daily and we managed to steer out of this commitments very easily. It is wisdom, it's knowledge, and as well as this sense of intuition. That intuition to see where lies the problem and where we can steer around and find solutions. So I really very impressed. And then I was also fortunate to be able to work under Prof in another capacity as a council member, as well as the chairman of the physics education subgroup during the years 1991 to 1995, when Prof was then the president of IFM. He is a man of vision, and I remember in an interview with the editor of the Twitter IFM, at the time, he laid out his plans and vision for physics education. We are going to talk about physics education, not anything like that. He wanted to reach out to the physics teachers community because he felt the teachers are the ones who will be able to bring up all these talents in physics. And he wanted the younger generation, the young students to take a keen interest in physics so he can build a broad human resource base for advancement in physics science. So he actually initiated a recruitment drive in 1992, and I was just helping him out with this, together with my friends in the subgroup, to bring in the teachers into the mainstream of physics activities. And I'm glad to say we managed to bring a substantial number of teachers to become members of the IFM. And in 1993, we also launched the National Physics Competition with the aim of actually forming a team to take part in the International Physics Olympiad. That was one of his dreams actually, to actually send a team to take part in the International Physics Olympiad. And the National Physics competition launched in 1993 was actually organized with that aim. And this competition then expanded to even include students of the, SPM level. So we had two levels of competition, SPM level and SPM level. All these was actually cross plan of trying to stimulate interest among the young students in besides that, he also came up with the idea of IFM Award. IFM Award for outstanding performance in STPM physics examination, as well as matriculation physics examination, so that he can sustain the interest of especially outstanding students in physics, encourage them to take part, to choose physics as one of their subject interests. Besides that, we felt that actually we need to reach out with this in another way. We need to improve the quality of physics teachers, or rather physics teaching in another way. So he sort of moved first my physicization subgroup to organize workshops actually, and we did do that, and let's say we did about 8 workshops all over the country, right at Farhat, in Horizon, in Kuala Lumpur, Ismailia, in Ipoh, in Penang, we went to the East Coast, Kuantan, and Kota Baru, organizing all these workshops with the aim of improving, or rather providing training to physics teachers and sharing ideas with them to improve physics teaching actually. And I would say we have covered about 500 teachers in such a way. Now all this could be possible actually not without the support of Prof. He was there always as a pillar of strength. He was always there to provide the inspiration, motivation, and the support. Whenever I needed some equipment which is required in workshops, I have no problem to pay from the university physics lecturer. He will always just sign and say, okay, now you go and see the other person, you can get all the equipment you want. If I needed to contact any high level or whatever personnel or lecturers, sort of network with them, get things done for my workshops, there he is to help me out, you know. And he is, I would say, very easy to work with. He is, during those years of association, very short, anyone who was we came across as someone who remains man of great wisdom. And for a distinguished physicist of this stage, he was very, very kind, favor, and very. If I really wanted to see him, I just give him a call and say, come over, and I can see him anytime. And I short of this, he will spend the time to go through with me, to provide suggestions, opinion, sort of problems I may have with writing out all those tasks for IFM. But he's not just all serious work. He's also a lot of fun actually. You know, during some of those sessions that I have with him, serious sessions, going through examination papers and whatever, during our breaks he will share his ideas on one of the things that he had in IG. He was really interested in he tries to explain with physics, this knowledge, the origin of power that can be right. I was really very, I would say, impressed by him. He really had a very inspiring and energetic mind, so to speak. Well, I can say that, you know, all that he's done so far, all these things that we've done, actually, he was the real one who really pushed us forward. I couldn't imagine how me and my group could get things done without him there behind us trying to push us to get things going all the time. Without him, I think any of these things would work. And we are grateful actually. His education, we're very grateful to have him with us during the time. He showed a very keen interest and enthusiasm and passion for physics education, right down to school level, even though for a person he was very the issue of physics education is some issue very close to his heart. So we are very thankful to have Prof in this. I'm sure all of us in the physics community, especially the physics teachers, miss him dearly. He's a great, immense loss. Well, after 1995, I leave the country, and very soon after that, my colleague, he also left. So yeah, basically, he sort of closed shop. Not really closed shop, but passed over the race to the next group. So, but still, even though we have already stopped running this activity, we still kept in touch with Prof. And every time we come back to the country, we would always organize dinners with Prof. He would always join us actually for these dinners, and most of the time, we would always end up in his home after the dinner. For late night sessions, we will bring up all these beverages, share his liquor and all these overseas things, and share his stories with us. really, really a very good client. Great client. He treated us all like friends. I think all of us know that he has a penchant for good. And I remember one occasion when we were woke up during our break time. He was like, let's go out and look for durians. And that's what we did. We went around all over Penang, and he is Penang guy. He knows all the inside out. We went around looking through all the streets, the back lanes, looking for the best durians. I still remember that. And we, the business agents, in 1991, 1995, was very glad. We really enjoyed the good company and great times that we had. We will always remember him and cherish the warm friendship he extended to us. For a person of his nature, he was really a giant among us. We did all of this. We shall always remember him for that. Amazing. Good soul. Yes.
Thank you. Alex, thank you for coming. Okay. So before you came, we agreed on the format that mixed mode. So the first speaker from the teachers, physics teachers have finished. So who is your nominee for the student to speak first? Wood?
Yeah.
Alex is the president. All right. Although trained in, partially trained in theoretical physics, since you only did masters. Alex is a well-established novelist, writer, writes in both Bahasa and English, and I think he has spent the last odd years of his life as a medical specialist consultant.
Morning. I guess that's the problem when you come late. Then you get to be the first one to get speak. Anyway, my name is Alex. I was an STCHR student during the 1994, 1997. I did postgraduate studies with him under him, and then we had a lot of great time together. I wanted to share a few things today which I think will be interesting, and I hope that you will find it enjoyable. I think the last few days I was trying to think what I should say during this special occasion. But you know, the last 1 week is all we have always, or most of us have always been preoccupied with football. So every time we try to think of something, football comes into mind. So I was trying hard to see what is it that I could say that is probably more meaningful and impactful today. So I decided on one of these few things. First of all, I was introduced to something what we call as the elusive particle called Higgs boson by none other than Prof. Chen. I had the pleasure of working on Higgs particle from so-called flavor-changing form exchange, and I was given the opportunity to work on that. I find that that is a real privilege because before that I knew a little bit about Higgs particles, but I never get a chance to really work theoretically on that matter. And the fact that it was experimentally found on 2012 proves the very fact that it was actually a very interesting subject. So for that, I think that is something that I've always been attentive to. When I first heard about what happened, it was kind of a mixed emotion because I was also shocked because there was a time when I just attended his son's wedding. That was in December, I think. where he told everyone that now that his son got married, in the morning there is no need to compete for the bathrooms anymore. I remember that. And then we met up again during the physics conference in one of the local hotels. That was actually the last time. And that was also the time when I was ready to publish my new book. My new book, Love Will Find You and Other Stories, will be published officially on the 28th of July, which is next month, together with my Malay book, which is called Sahabat. And I have thought that it was only right that I include a story about my experience with Prof. Jia in this book. So I will today read for you an excerpt from the book, from the story that I wrote for my experience with him. Only when on the 28th of July you will see the full story. Today is free of charge. The title of the story is called The Brightest Star. He breezed into class, grabbed a piece of chalk, and wrote equation after equation while expounding ideas intermittently. We stared at him, at the glasses hanging around his neck, and at the blackboard, which was soon covered with equations that seemed alien to us. We struggled to grasp the first steps in understanding the behavior of atoms under the influence of quantum mechanics. That's when I fell in love with physics all over again. Nothing was more mysterious to me than the world of quantum mechanics. The mathematics involved in trying to comprehend the smaller than microscopic reality was my hobby. The intricacies made me even more determined to understand it. That day I believed I would be a researcher in particle physics. I brushed aside the memories of earlier days in the lab, like the time that I stirred so hard with the thermometer that I broke it. But theoretical physics, perhaps I would now excel in a way that I never did with experimental physics. I resolved to apply myself to this field, in which that man was an authority. At first, I only knew this great man from a distance. He was much a mystery as a subject taught. He took our imaginations on a flight through the corridors of the universe. We were buoyed by stories about quantum revolution and great human endeavor, going against the tide of conventional wisdom. Before we knew it, the last year of undergraduate studies had rolled around and he was assigning us final year projects. My teammate and I stood in his office somewhat speechless. The project he assigned us required massive amounts of calculations using the concept of tensor algebra, and will probably take months even if we devoted all our time to it. How would we cope? Not to mention with other classes. But he assured us that he would finish on time. At least we most likely would. So we spent countless late nights in a maze of equations, never too far from the answers, yet the solutions seemed elusive. One night we worked so hard and we were too tired to leave. I heard footsteps, only to realize that it was already morning. And other students had entered the classroom and found the two of us sleeping on the cold hard table. We jumped up and packed in a hurry, taking off on my motorbike in embarrassment. Several minutes later, I was asleep on my bed. My roommate had a shock when he found me there with a guy friend dozing next to me. After graduating, a few of us remained with our teacher, having decided to take up postgraduate studies in theoretical physics. He was the biggest cohort yet in theoretical physics, and I believe he was proud of it. I get to know him a little bit more then. Yes, I was intimidated by him. I think most of us were. Though he was very approachable and magnanimous, his vast knowledge made us feel small. So when we needed his help, we went to his office in groups. Yet he only wanted to draw the best out of us, to prepare us, even to compete internationally. As a supervisor, he wanted to help us be better than we were yesterday. On the day we were assigned individual projects, he presented me with an opportunity to work on the subject of label-changing quartz with the emission of Higgs boson. The Higgs particle was never experimentally discovered until years later, in 2012. In 2013, physicists Peter Higgs and Frank Boyd-Enloe were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work on the Higgs particle. Before that came to pass, I was dancing with tensor algebra and guided by Feynman diagrams. I was seeking the light in the intricacies of mathematics. One fine day, after calculating ferociously for days in the library, there was a sense of utter happiness when the answer I arrived at happened to be a finite number. I knew the joy of discovery, as if for the first time. We wrote a joint paper after my project was done, and he encouraged me to present our paper at an international conference. I had sleepless nights preparing for it. The audience were distinguished researchers from all around the world. I still remember standing at the podium and seeing the face of a famous foreign professor who looked at my results in disbelief. The crunch came when I was bombarded with a flurry of questions from the floor during the Q&A session. I survived the ordeal. Somehow I was stronger for it. This is the first part of the excerpt. The second part of it you have to read from the book. The third part and the last part of the excerpt reads like this. Upon leaving student life, the corporate world seduced me. The temptation was too great, and I left the world of particle physics. I only revisited my roots 2 decades later on. I looked up his phone number and called. We had lunch together with his wife. They were both so kind as to attend my first book launch. I arranged to meet once again for a classical Indian performance. He was his good human self, but frailer than before. We attended the event as a party of 6, which included a lady friend I had invited. The performance was held in a splendid garden. During the intermission, I hopped in from his chair and across an uneven path towards coffee upstairs. My lady friend might have wondered why I was holding my teacher's hand the whole time and completely ignoring. Later, he invited me for his son's wedding. In his wedding speech, he mentioned how glad he was that his kids were all grown up and married. Now they no longer have to compete for the bathroom every morning before work. The last time I saw him, we were chatting at a national conference. He talked about getting together for lunch and inviting his students. I should have tried to make it happen sooner. I didn't know what to say when I heard the news of his passing. There was no words to say. My heart simply went. He was a class of his own, kind soul and gentleman. He inspired us as an educator and left a little part of him in each of us. I imagine him, the giant of his time, watching over us from above, or waiting in the horizon, like a morning star yet to be discovered. I will miss him dearly.
Thank you, Alex. It's good that you went into creative writing. I think embodied his contribution in a book. Out of your book. I think what Alex has given a different facet of interaction between student and teacher. And also coming up to the level where sitting together and having dinner. Thank you, Alex. Chair? Okay, I'd like to introduce a prominent figure in the education physics group after Chow, Mr. Chia Song Choi, who played a significant role after Chow left to Brunei, assisting us as well as moving the education physics group.
Thank you very much, Prof. Guru. Dear Dr. Wu, family, friends, and dear friends, good morning. I couldn't sleep last night. I came from Johor Bahru. I started, actually I wake up many times. I don't know, I hardly had 2 hours sleep last night. I started 4:50 this morning from Johor Bahru. I arrived KL around 8 o'clock. I told Guru that I may be late, and I never know that I'm the first one to arrive. When Prof. Guru told me for these sessions, I have mixed feeling. Actually, I received the call from Prof. Guru about Prof. Chia. That time, I just retired from Chonghua KL principal, and I have something in KL. I went back to Johor Bahru. On my arrival to Johor Bahru, I received phone call from Prof. Guru about Prof. Chia. Then the next morning, I rushed up to KL, and I had to go to the place. Actually, and then I informed all my friends. So I really don't know what to say. There are so many stories. I'm Chinese educated. Actually, my Chinese should be very good. But after many years serving in government for more than 40 years, I think I lost my Chinese Mandarin. But after Prof. Chia left, I decided to write an article, only 2 pages, but it took me so long to write this. So I tried to send to newspaper for publications. At first, they promised to publish, but in time it was wrong because of politics and all that, the elections. So my article not published, and today I passed some copies to Dr. Wu. If anybody interested, I have another, I think, 10 copies there. Over here, I summarize into the story into 3 parts. First part is about physics. Like many friends say, I'm not a student from Prof. Chia, I'm from UKM. But because last time UKM do not have a campus, early 70s, actually we have our campus just next door. So every day we are at UM. And I met Prof. Chia at one conference. I still remember it's a Federal Hotel. where Prof. C.N. Yang, I think first time visited Malaysia, and Prof. Chiang was one of the organizer, key personnel at that time. And later on, I served as a physics teacher. Of course, I'm very interested in physics and know Chow, Mr. Ang, and all that through IFM. After they left, I took over the KPF, Kumpulan Pendidikan Physics. Like Mr. Chow said, the first thing I did with Prof. Chia was to organize a trainers convention in Ming Court Vista Hotel, Protection. Today, Mr. Chow very kind. I think we have some copies about the report for this conference. I saw in this report there are many friends of physics, old friends like Mr. Wee Choi Chang, and then Mr. Ang, and Mr. Po Leong Yong, Mr. Yu Kok Lei, Mr. Koi Ken Chuan, Mr. Sak Tu, and so many other friends, Mr. Sia Yung Sun from Batu Pahat. We all together, Protection, and we have a good time discussing the physics education. That was the first part. Later on, I took over the KPF for setting question for Physics Olympiad, and actually we had some time to look for quality questions. I like to share two moments here. One day, when we designed the questions, we found some problems with regarding the electric field for a thin film. There are certain books wrote that the electric field is E, and another book is half E. Whether we need to divide by 2 or not, we are not very sure. So one afternoon, I remember, all the way from Protection, the time I'm teaching in Protection, I rushed to UM and I saw Prof. Chia. And he is so helpful, he can discuss all the possibilities, whether need to divide by 2 or not. And then he cited the book, I still remember, Halliday Resnick. He picked the book and right at the page. He opened the book and showed me the page. This is the thing. So it's very sharp, just like Chow said. Another moment is regarding, we attended conferences at Penang. He told us that human organs, the eardrums and the retina, very sensitive and can respond to single photon and also the vibration of one atom. So that time I didn't believe actually. And he told me, this is from Shears and Zimansky, and they look for the book. And there's a question there. I saw all the data and I worked it up and it's correct. So he's very sharp and very sure of the material of physics. So we have a lot of a good time together sharing physics, and I learned a lot from Prof. Chia. Just now, Prof. Guru mentioned the Chengkong University competitions. The thing is still on. Yeah, the Chengkong University actually contacted me. So we'll continue the project this year. And recently, I also represented IFM and also because of Prof. Chia for the science camp. I remember back in 2005, in remembrance of Albert Einstein miraculous year. So 2005, we organized the first science camp in Chonghua, Seremban. So this is the 14th science camp in Kluang this year. And I understand that next year, the science camp will be in Chonghua, Kuala Lumpur. They will celebrate their 100th anniversary. And the school also approached me that they want to have a memorial for Prof. Chia during the event. So that will be 2019 again. Prof. Chia told me about the IPHO and also FPSO, International Physics Olympiad and FPSO. We work together very hard. We participated, but Malaysia actually always asks to organize these events. Actually, we are capable of organizing, but the most difficult part is to set questions and problems. So Prof. Chia told me that because as an organizer, we have to produce quality questions and problems. These are the most difficult part. And because actually we do not have confidence to have these problems, therefore we cannot organize yet. So maybe a lot of people will ask why the physics education subgroup didn't continue with the competition in Malaysia. Actually, we face a lot of difficulties, especially some pressure from the government departments. And then Prof. Chia and myself, during our time, we had hard time because of a lot of these internet problem from the ministry, from the PPDs. They will disturb us with all the regulations and all that. Especially they will ask us why we have to collect money and why we didn't get the financial support from the government and all that. So a lot of political interference, and we decided that there are many other things happening. We had to put a stop for these competitions. But we continue with the training. Actually, even though very low profile, we also work with the schools, with STPM students, like Mr. Charles suggested. Actually, at MPM very helpful through the HSC or STPM results. Actually, we selected students for shortlisted students and then trained by the university lecturers. Actually, Malaysia, so far we also achieved, we have gold medals, we have bronze, we have silver. Actually, not too bad. Not like China or Taiwan or Singapore, where every contestant they got gold medal. But Malaysia, at least we have 1 or 2. Okay, part 2 is like Mr. Chow said, good food. So Prof. Chia and I, we are big eater. So I remember very well when I was in Port Dickson, one day Prof. Chia came to Port Dickson. I brought him to one nasi lemak stall near the masjid. And he told me that that was the best nasi lemak he ever tried. And especially the sotong there. I tried to look, actually recently I went back to Port Dickson, I couldn't find the store anymore. So I miss it. Another very interesting thing is about drinking toddy. So Prof. Chia also introduced me about toddy, and from Pantai Remis, and it's very, very interesting. He said after drinking, we lie down. We just sit there. So we have a lot of good time together eating. Wherever you go, in Kuala Pila, Seremban, Kuala Kelawang. Dr. Wu once he came to Kuala Kelawang and I was the principal there. So we took a photo. The photo still at the restaurant. So very good food and we have good time. And part 3 is about charity. Actually, Prof. Chia, like many people say, he had good heart and he liked to serve people, voluntary work. So work together. And he told me when I was elected as the principal of Chonghua, he told me about the problem of Chonghua there. At first I didn't believe. After 5 years, I faced a lot of difficulties. I really miss Prof. Chia. Actually, he had a vision. He knows the problems. Actually, he warned me first. And it's really very problematic and not that easy. And Prof. Chia served many organizations. And I always find that during meetings, I observe how he conducted meetings, and especially if there are some disputes. So actually, he is very clever. He can handle situation very well. Actually, I learned a lot of things from Prof. Chia, especially on crisis management. So it's not very organized. I try my best. I'm quite emotional, I think, and I'm missing a lot. And especially Dr. Wu. Actually, I think just months before the 8th of March, I received phone call from both of you, and I got shocked actually. Actually, that time, Prof talked very softly. Also, I sensed something not very normal actually at that time. And that was the last phone call I received from Prof. And I'm so sad. Today I have to stand here to tell you, to speak from my heart about these stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Actually, Chair Contra has given the tribute in the set of tributes that I'm preparing. In fact, I apologize to the family. I wanted to print it, put it into a book form and give it to you today, but I just can't run so many things at the same time. But we will do that eventually. And those of you who are present here and would like to contribute to the tributes on SB, because some of you are only new the last few months, if you can send it to us, we'll put it in the list. But we received so many tributes from all over the world. But Chia is right. One of the things that I still learn, although I'm nearly 60, not far away, is that I was just a phone call away from SB. So whenever I had something that required a second opinion, I just give him a call. I already feel instinctively that this is not today, but then I'm seeing this. He handled it very well. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, this was the room or the next building. I just walked out of the meeting with the Ministry of Education. Chia was there, Oslan was there, Asad was there, and SB Chia was there. I couldn't take the nonsense. Can't tolerate. Okay, but as a president now, when I sit as a custodian, I have to tolerate all nonsense. But as an ordinary secretary or secretary general, you can. I just walk out because this is the sort of problems we face. Okay, are you ready, Woon? Yeah? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This will be the last speaker before our tea break. And then we continue.
Hi everyone, very good morning, all of you, and also to the family of Prof. Gerard. Thank you very much, Prof. Guru and Alex, for organizing this. Now, mine is basically, can I first, yeah. Mine is basically a recollection of my experiences of dealing with Prof. Gerard during my varsity days. This was a long time ago, maybe a quarter of a century ago, in the 90s. Now, my first experience with Prof. Gerard was actually my final year. I don't know why I decided to do a project in particle physics. There was a choice between science Bahan, which at the time I was thinking of doing a project on material science. But then my friend Sashi, I'll talk about him later, and he managed to convince me, hey, why don't you join this group in Feynman diagram? I think, who is Feynman? There's this project involves calculating Feynman diagram. We're going to work with a very prominent physicist by the name of Prof. Chia. I said, okay, since it's going to be done in a group, it shouldn't be that difficult. But actually, I was very wrong. So, let me show you the first slide. I still keep this, my brand new project. I don't know why, but I feel very nostalgic about it. Next slide. Let me tell you what. Okay, but I still keep this project, my first collaboration with SPJ in my final year project, 1994. 1994 is actually also the year the World Cup was held. That was in America. So in between football and all that, we still had time to do work on our 10-week project. And my project, I don't know what it means today, but if you read the title of the project, it was something to do with calculations or what is that? Process of, I think, electron and positron coming together, disappearing. And in the act of disappearance, they sort of create a pair of W bosons carrying these charges. So that process entails, I think there were 2 or 3 Feynman diagrams. We worked on we worked in a gauge called, I don't know what it means now, standard gauge. We did the calculation, and lo and behold, after 10 weeks, we managed to get the result. Okay? So that was my first collaboration with the Prof. Kia. We did get results, but those days we did it in pairs because it was said that you could not finish the project alone in 10 weeks. But this project was a marathon, but somehow the project was done. And in that project, if you look at the second page, the acknowledgement page, there's something very interesting. I don't know whether you can see it. In paragraph number 4, something good came out of it. The 4 of us, or 5 of us who got together, we call ourselves the Feynman brothers. Why Feynman brothers? Because Prof. Chia's calculation involved Feynman diagrams. In 1994, James Gleick, whatever his name is, had a bestseller on Feynman. So we were very excited. And we decided after that to pursue a postgraduate with under Prof. Chia. And that will be my next slide. So my second collaboration with him. Before that, I have a picture to show to all of you. This was what we looked like in 1994. Some of us have aged gracefully, some not. Okay, Boku is here. It's an extreme left. I'm in the middle. Ken Yang is in there. Next Ken Yang is Tan Yu. Tan Yu is now an investment banker in Singapore. And the guy Sashi is very elusive. Like Higgs boson, you never seem to find him. Today I asked him to come, but he said there's some appointment. So this was the original pair, the original people who did the project under Prof. Chia. And then we continued with our masters. Okay. Now this was my master's project under SP Chia. SP Chia was actually very kind to me. I didn't do too well in my undergraduate years. He knew my quantum mechanics bad. In fact, I have a confession, I failed my quantum mechanics. And I had a very bad. I'll come there. The story is, I failed like any of you. We failed on quantum mechanics. I have very fond memories of that. But I was very interested in doing physics, particle physics, theoretical physics. Because all the excitement back then, because they had discovered, I think they discovered the top was it? I don't know what it means now. Top or truth or whatever in 1994, 1995, a lot of excitement. Everybody was talking about it, and SK was talking about it. And I remember reading articles. I remember seeing magazines, Physics Today magazines in the Department of Physics. Unfortunately, it was lying around, nobody read except for us. When we keep reading them, we got excited. We said, why not? Let's try doing particle physics as our master's project. So now I will come to my master's project. This one was, I think, investigation of mass dependence. Don't know what it means now. In critical antiparticle mixing within the framework of the standard model. And the standard model was very near and dear to SPJ because he was an expert the Salam model. This is the Glasgow Michael Salam model. And he, as I said earlier, was very kind to take me in despite my poor knowledge of quantum mechanics, very elementary knowledge of what mathematical physics call it today. But then, as a good teacher, Prof. Chia saw something in me. He saw I had determination and the interest to finish this project. So he gave me a chance. That chance is something which I will never forget. The kindness, that actually led me towards a very interesting and weird world of particle physics and also theoretical physics. So this calculation was a very long calculation. It took me about 3-4 years to finish it. I remember I had to calculate 16 Feynman diagrams. Because you had to calculate the diagrams to get the result, and the results sometimes were actually not very good, so you had to refine the calculation until you got something finite. So what was my recollection working with SP there that I share with you? As a person, SP was very important in time. I remember the number of times he invited us to makan, to join his family in SS2O, that I remember very clearly. But as a supervisor, he was very strict, but fair. He had very high expectations. Of course, he was a very good physicist, demanded quality work, which we tried to provide. And that actually raised our levels as well, I think. Okay? Now I go back to the SM401 course. The course I failed called quantum mechanics. Okay? Now in those days, I think the final year they had this course called quantum mechanics. It was tough. Most of you who have taken the course will say it was difficult. And I also have great connections of not liking the textbook that recommended. It's called, I think, George Payne's textbook. I remember this because SP used to tell me that Payne was a supervisor or lecturer in University of Illinois. So this book wanted to be very difficult. Inside, people like me, the mathematics background was mediocre, average. We found refuge in a book which he recommended called Gazerovics. So Prof. Chia knew the student's background. He said, if you are very good, you try this Payne. Your maths, but not very good, find refuge in Gazerovics. So that was something I remember very much. And also, I remember his elementary particle physics course, which was an elective course that he taught in year 4. For that course, I'm very fond of the recollections because it was much easier than his SM401 course. Most of us here, the particle group, did very well for that course. And we sort of aced it. So because we aced it, sort of motivated us to do a master's under SP Chia in physics. Of course, then, as I said earlier, there was a big group of us, so it was a lot of fun doing a master's when you have a lot of people working on different problems in the same area. I think I remember about SP was, he used to say, do not be sloppy work. His famous quotation was, don't be sloppy when you do your calculation. I still remember that, tell it to my staff today. Never be sloppy, be methodical, pay attention to detail. This lesson from me was a lesson of life. I still remember it today, and I tell this to my staff almost every day. Very important. And what was he like a master supervisor? Okay, I'll tell you what. As a master supervisor, he taught me not just the basic principles of Feynman calculus and particle physics, that is normal, but also the practical methods of solving problems in physics. How do you solve a problem as a physicist? This is a very important skill which I don't think we share nowadays with our physics students. And the positive attitude that you must have in meeting these challenges, not just Feynman diagrams, other challenges. You must have a positive attitude to meet challenges. Now this good grounding and training came in very handy when I embarked on my PhD studies many years later under Prof. Now, in his presence, in SP's presence, when I was a student, I knew I would not be lost. In many moments of despair, when I wanted to throw in the towel, give up masters, when those marathon and pencil calculations, they were very long calculations, hit a snag, or the method did not work out, or when the math was complex, or when the Fortran code did not want to run, SP Chia was there to motivate, to point out the pitfalls of my logic, which you always found, the something of logic, and offer wisdom, insights, and encouragement, and put me on the right track towards the journey. And eventually, I did achieve that. I came to the end of the station. education with my master's I completed in 98. So to Prof. Chia, I'm eternally grateful to him. For I had the opportunity of being supervised and trained by such a fine theoretical physicist during my days at UM. We will miss him very dearly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajesh. I was very worried it's going to be payment diagrams. You didn't save us from that. We organized that some other time. We have a quick tea break and then we'll come back at 10:30. Okay? Thank you. The student in physics and now the student in physics.
Morning. My name is Efren Saputo. I'm a student of Prof. Blue. So when I graduated in 2004, basically, I'm from physics department. But around the time I graduated, there wasn't any funding around that period. So I went to probably to Prof. Blue's side, ISF, and they were gracious enough to give me a place there. But Prof. Blue always gave me all sorts of tasks. So I was supposed to work on quantum scatters issue. So he also got me working on library science. So we were doing that as well. There was one time we did this advert for bachelor students at the University of College. And then at one point in time, he decided to push me into Prof. Chia's work. So this is the first time I got to work back in on particle physics, because that was something that I really enjoyed working on. I did that as a 5-year project during my bachelor's. And I've heard so much from him, and it was an honor. It was an honor to actually get a chance to work on a field, especially with such fine physicists as themselves. So, funny enough, what he was working on, just me, is something quite I would consider Christian, because it was actually a data science problem. What he had was a set of empirical particle masses that he tried to fit in the standard model using his own formulation of effective mass. It was quite interesting that what we needed to do was kind of like do a regression and figure out what the parameters were in order for us to actually reproduce back again the empirical masses. So he tried to explain the problem as best as he could in a short time that we had, and then I had to struggle with the calculations, of course. Eventually, I think it took 2 weeks or so, and finally got our first set of calculations and passed it. Got really excited. Got so excited we went to present the results at this conference in Vietnam. And I think he worked on the problem a little more after that. But it's one of these problems that requires so much data that we didn't have. So we could really make these very good guesstimates about how we should actually approach the parameters, how we should actually estimate them. But it was nonetheless very interesting exercise. I haven't seen anybody else try anything like that, and I think we got pretty close to some empirical results. I remember receiving emails from him 2-3 a.m. in the morning. I remember having to go over to the house in SS2 over weekends and have to get grilled over the calculations. Why is it like this and why not like that? And you do it like in this particular way. Lots of headache, definitely, because he was very exacting, very high standard kind of guy. So, but it was in the end, all the things I learned from that kind of add to the measure of what I am. I would say that I owe him a lot for how my past turned out today. So we're all very, very lucky to have him in our business. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening.
We want to revisit it.
to say has been said by the Tao Chia. All I remember of Prof. Chia, if I can address him as Prof. Chia, because we always talk, when we talk of Dr. Chia, we always say it's Prof. I think there's one word which really struck me about him, and that is being humble. He is a man of great stature, but he can actually go down to the earth with us in the education group. I remember during the frequent meetings or the once a year meeting that we have at his place or at the restaurant, which we do when we come back from Brunei with Chao, we make it a point to see him, besides the drinks and all that. The members who attended would throw questions at O level and A level questions to him, and he could answer it with ease. That's something that I really admire him, that he could just do that offhand, and he could do it in a very simple way. I was really highly impressed with him. And not only that, I was also very impressed with his knowledge of politics and everything that's going on in Malaysia. Because we normally throw questions at him about the situation in Malaysia, and he could give a very educated or professional answers to them. And it really sticks with me that this man that we have lost is quite unreplaceable. He should have been honored to be given Ansiri or a title. But I just don't understand the politics. He's not even honored with any of such titles. That is quite easy to get in Malaysia, but I don't know how the system works on other chips. Anyway, we will miss him because our once a year meeting with him will not be complete without him, and we have actually lost a great friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Chong, one of SP's final students.
Very good morning to everyone. I think amongst all of us, the students of Prof. Chia's, actually we do communicate earlier what to talk. Okay. Today I'm going to talk about the only technical piece. Right? That we have done under Prof. Chia. Right? Then. Of course, we have a lot of good memories during our study as a master students, and those funny moments that is full of smile and laughter will be shared by Dr. Yun with us. Okay. So I will try to make it's a very brief report of my master research. I will try to make it as least technical as possible. Okay, try to be more qualitative. So as you can see from the titles, is a flavor changing spark Z vertex. Probably I will briefly tells on what is a vertex. In particles, I think everybody knows that during the interactions we have elementary particles like quarks, okay, that interact and turn to another quark, so maybe electron and some sort. Now, during the vertex, that moment of interactions, they are full of complications. Okay, that vertex, a lot of knowledge inside. Okay, so there are many types. So at first, okay, let me start, okay, with some rationales that attract us into this project. First of all, is on the rare neutrals scale decay, which this vertex is related to. In the history of particle physics, we know rare neutral scale decays create a lot of puzzles that remain as a conundrum for many years that's unsolved. Something like the so-called tau theta puzzle and so on. But all these puzzles has later on lead to major developments and revolutions in particle physics, such as the discovery of CV violations, right? And also the issue of quark mixing is all related to this special and very mysterious chaos decay. And also, that time, during our studies about 2 decades ago, more than 2 decades ago, the Z boson flavor changing decay also is under exploration. So all these issues have attracted many attentions into this special text, the flavor changing. Probably you will wonder what's meant by flavor changing. What's flavor? The quarks come in 3 generations. We have DSP, down, strange, and bottom, right? And you also have up quarks, charm quark, top quarks. So all this time we call it a flavor. We have 6 different flavors of quarks, right? So how to differentiate them? We differentiate by quantum numbers, right? Top quarks here, the topness, okay? So up, down quarks you can differentiate by isospins, okay? Charm quark, the charmness, and so on. Different quantum numbers to differentiate that, okay? Now flavor changing is when it comes with along the way one quark of definite flavors. So during the interactions, will change flavor to different flavors. So this issues in particle physics we call it quark mixing, the mixing of quark during the interaction. All right. Okay. I think before I jump into my project, I think it's beneficial for us to look into a few concepts which is essential to our research. Let me start with this theoretical frameworks. In 1970s, 2 physicists, Steven Weinberg and Abdus Salam, okay, they used the quantum field theories, gauge principles, group symmetry, etc., and so on. Okay, they successfully models, okay, established a model, so-called Weinberg-Salam models for electroweak interactions, and these theories lead to a Nobel Prize for them in 1979. And now, why I mention this because the models was later extended to quark sectors. That means we are using the same theoretical framework that formulated by Weinberg-Salam, okay, in the quark sectors. Next. And next is Feynman diagrams. You can imagine before Feynman, Richard Feynman, if you want to formulate and attempt to solve particle process, starting from the first principle, something like quantum field theory and so on, you can imagine how difficult was the journey. Okay? And it's full of mathematical abstraction and notation. Right? Thanks to Feynman, in 1948, he creates, okay, with his genius, okay, and create a pictorial representations. Okay? We use diagram, okay, to represent those mathematical process, okay, that describe behavior of subatomic interactions. And this has provided very simple visualizations of what would otherwise be full of abstractions. Right, next. So later on you will see Feynman diagrams. Okay, next issue is on the clock mixing. So as you can see at the bottom, the flavor mixings, okay, the flavor changings in the clock sectors have given rise to induced neutral flavor changing process, a process which is relevant to our Z penguin vertex. Okay? And this exploration and study of the clock mixings that started in 1963 by this Nicolas Cabibbo. Okay? And he started with a 2x2 mixing matrix, caters for 2 generations of clocks. So at times only down clock, S clock is 1 generation, and up clock, down clock, another generations. With 2x2 mixing matrix. But unfortunately, these 4 clock models could not explain CPU violation. Okay? The CPU violation is discovered in 1964. Okay? By Cronin and Fitch. Okay? At times, okay, after the discovery, you see, is that the work of Cabibbo is 1963. So CPU violation was experimentally observed in 1964 with KLPK. And so the schemes are somehow unable to explain this. And in 1973 comes 2 Japanese physicists, Kobayashi and Masukawa. And he extended the schemes from Cabibbo, okay, and formulated a CKN matrix, 3x3 matrix. We call it Cabibbo's Kobayashi Masukawa matrix, and introduced 1 more generation. Okay, the bottom clocks and the top clocks. Okay, so now we have a 3 generation of clock, and with these schemes, with this extended scheme. Okay, they successfully explained the CPU violation and win them the Nobel Prize in 2008, right? Together with Yojiro Nambu from US. Okay, the next please. Okay, the next is gauge fixing. I think for those who have studied about electromagnetic theory in undergraduates, you see in the later chapters you have gauge freedoms, right? So I think during that time, I think you have come across the Coulomb gauge and Lorentz gauge belief in electromagnetism. So gauge principles is a very important principle in physics, especially in particle physics. And you also have Landau gauge and some other gauge. Okay? So with this symmetry, okay, the physicists have freedom to choose what gauge to use to attempt a problem without changing the physics. Okay? The physics is not affected by what gauge you choose. So in most of the problems regarding the computation of quantum field theories, it is well known that the simplest gauge to use is through Feynman gauge. And this is the gauge that we use in our projects. So the background of the earlier works, before we start our projects, actually we know that there are some other physicists have already done that. And in their works, they assume the mass of W bosons, which is much larger than quarks and so on. With this kind of assumptions, they simplify the expression to the simplest. Okay, so this is the earlier work. And later, some other works that without doing such assumption, but they still ignore some of the so-called unimportant form factors, which in our words we don't ignore any. Right? So that's why we claim our project as exact calculations, right, in the toxic vortex. Next, please. So this is a Feynman diagrams. So you see such a wonderful diagrams that we are going to work on in two Feynman gauge. Based on the gauge principles, I give you examples. For example, if you work in Coulomb gauge, I came across one paper on Coulomb gauge working on this. There are only two diagrams, but the mathematical expression is terrific. Okay, so the good point of two Feynman gauge is you calculate more diagram, but the mathematical expression is far simpler. Right? So now the diagram is come together with the Feynman's rules and prescription. Based on these Feynman rules, we formulate our so-called vortex function. So these are the vortex function. So each diagram have one vortex function with A, B, C, next please. 4, 5, 6. So 6 of them. So with this vortex function, later on we have to evaluate them and sum them all together. And this started our journey. So handling of massive and terrible computational work. Alright, after you get those, sum up all the vortex functions, there's one problem. That expression that you get is so-called unrenormalized vortex functions. So there will be one divergent term going to infinity. One divergence is for sure will be there. So it's fortunately in 1990s, 70s. So it's great to hear that two physicists, Gerard Truth and Weltmans, have shown that the electronic theories formulated by Weinberg and Salams is proven to be renormalizable. It means it's for sure renormalizable. So we don't have to scare of those divergent terms. It's always be cancelled. So next please. So this is a renormalization prescriptions. So you see the equal signs there. So the first one, the first diagram shows our unrenormalized vortex that I had calculated earlier. That terms will have divergent terms. So, but this will be compensated by the second terms, the so-called, the bracket is on shell, that is the counter terms for us to calculate the counter terms, which also contain another divergent terms, and we add together one positive, one negative, they will cancel off. So now come the moments, and I was so scared that, because we are handling very long mathematical expression, so error is here and there. So what if it's not cancer? So that's a problem. So after many rounds of checkings, fortunately, it's really amazingly cancer. Right? Next, please. So this is the counter terms. So based on this and with the accompanying Feynman rules and so on, we have the counter terms calculated. So next. So after subtracting off the divergent term, and you see the final one after much simplification without the divergent terms inside, and we try to shrink the expression into form factors A, B, and C, and this expression shown here already has been reduced after multiple steps of simplification and ignore of terms. Okay, then we obtain this AJ, next, BJ and CJ. Now, just now when I mentioned about earlier words, they retain only CJ. They ignore A and B. And now we are in the position to test whether this A and B really go to be withdrawn, okay, from the expressions. So next please. So this is a graph that we obtained, okay, in our result. And you see that, yeah, the B is really small, right? So in all range of MJ, it's really small, right? But it's not the case for A. And yes, C is large, especially when MJ is going to be large. But you can see the form factor A actually is dominating at the small MJ side. So then we in the latest last few months of the projects, okay, actually we work on the application. We apply our result into calculation of some process and to compare the contributions. And during that, we ignore the B because we can see that B is very small in all regions. So we compare A and C. Next please. So we have seen that, okay, we calculate this, we apply our results into three process that directly involve our vertex. So S to D bar. D bar means anti-particles of D. Alright? So the first process, you can see that the contribution of AJ is extremely small. Right? But not the case for the last two. You can see that they contributed 0.31% and the other one 0.29%. While still small, but you can still see their contribution. Okay, so I think there's a brief report. Okay, the end of the brief report that I did under Prof. Chia. So I think it should be able to serve as a typical type of projects I think all our students are doing under Prof. Chia at times. So I am sure that the other members will be sharing this with you, leaders. Now, I would like to take these opportunities to express my gratitude to Prof. Chia for his patience, okay, and enthusiasm, okay, in these areas, and be willing to lead us, the young generations in Malaysia, young 2 decades ago. Okay. Okay. Because why I say that, to be able to comprehend, to understand particle physics, okay, I speak in retrospect. After we have gained a lot of experience in physics. If you go to US, you not study particle physics. Okay, you have to go through a course module. You have to study relativistic quantum mechanics, quantum field theories, and so on and so forth. There's so many theories that we need to study. Imagine that time, okay, when we go under Prof. Chia's. We are fresh undergraduates from UM. What we have studied about quantum mechanics is non-relativistic quantum mechanics. So you can imagine how far is the gap. Okay, it's a huge gap. And somehow, Prof. Chia's ability to space, time, and patience. I remember he gave us a series of lectures. Okay? So he's trying his best to fill up the gap. Right? A series of lectures, I remember we used a textbook by Jordan Drell. Okay? So he's trying to help us to fill up the gap. And also we share a lot of these memorable moments during that time. I would be thankful for forming the particle groups. I think it is claimed to be one of the largest groups during that time. run this research group at limited times. It was all due to Poncha. Okay, I think there are many other things I think will be shared by Dr. Yu.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. I think you did great justice today by adding the flavor to his number. Well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we invite the speaker for education to the group chat. Say a word. Chip, sorry.
Morning. Morning, Professor Guru and everyone. Now, I'll be giving a very short speech because I was informed quite lately, and my planned interaction with Professor Chia was quite short actually. When I start to work with Chia Song Choi and in Institute of Physics Malaysia, then I start to join the meeting and meet him. But I first met Professor Chia in year 1975 when I was a physics student in MU. He was teaching quantum mechanics. Now, quantum mechanics was a very tough subject. So, those who can handle, they are rightfully very proud of themselves. So, we students will form small groups to discuss and go over his lecture notes. And some of us, of course, pretend to be able to understand more than we did, just to have one up against another. But not until when his tutorial, we went through tutorial with him, he gave tutorial to us and give the solution, then only we knew that what we didn't know. So that's Professor Chia. Now, other thing is, we are actually very, he was actually very highly regarded by the honor year student that time. Because one of the students, my classmate, I think was from Mantai Ramis. Every time in the meeting, he will talk about Professor Chia and he will talk about his childhood. He say one thing, Professor Chia, we refer to him as Dr. S.T. Chia at that time. He's always taught in his school and he play a lot. He's a rather cheeky boy. That's why I don't know whether it's true or not. And Professor Wu. Okay? He will play any naughty things and to the extent that he will go to the drain and catch fighting fish to fight. I don't know lah, but wow, there was something in common between me and him. But for him, is way high up. Okay? Now, so I shall speak for my honor group 2015 that we really appreciate what Professor Chia has taught us, and we feel that it is a loss that we miss him and for the physics community. So I would say, Professor Chia, wherever you are now, I think your soul will rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Nice words. Did you say about fighting fish? Fighting fish. Fighting fish. Okay. The final S.D. Chia, whose name I know him so long, but still I made a mistake in his name. Thanks to Alex Tan who didn't check the wording properly. Should be Yoon instead of Woon. Yeah, it's somewhere else. I said, please check, please check. Okay, great pleasure to introduce one of UM students who's now in our what was it called? University Science Malaysia. Yeah?
Good morning, everyone. I feel a bit pressure because I consider myself to be sort of like a major student of him. But maybe I was wrong because there are so many students. Currently I'm associate professor in the School of Physics, USM. I owe my success very much to Prof. Jia. I always call him Prof. Jia. He has always been Prof. Jia to me. My first year students this year, he mentioned to me someone who's very great in particle physics. Immediately I know that he's referring to Prof. Jia. So that reminds me of what happened to me when I was like 18 years old, 19 years old, when I was still a student in the same schools as Prof. Jia. I came from Chongqing High School in Penang. So I read about his articles on elementary particle physics in the newspaper in Nanyang or in Suzhou. So by that time, I think he writes quite frequently. He has big articles about elementary particle physics. Then I start to realize that we have a particle physicist in Malaysia. And after so many years, 2018, my first year students also mentioned to me about him. That really resonated with me that Prof. Chia's influence lasts since I was young until now. Prof. Chia has it's always been like background figures to us. I went into UM 1991 as a super fresh student, and then I did master with him 1994 until 1997. It took us 3 years. Most of it here we did a master with him. It took a long years doing masters. 3 years is considered a lengthy period of studies, especially in this era. Our students have graduated in 1 year as master. So most of the time, we actually, we try to study hard, but most of the time we play ping pong in the School of Physics. So all the five brothers here and all our fellows, we actually spend our time playing ping pong. And it was the most memorable time we have in UM. So I think this year is the most memorable year for most of us in UM. So in undergraduates and in postgraduate as master students. I think in our final year we have to do a project. So happened that there was like 6 of us who suddenly want to do a project with Prof. Chia. We friends as students from a student's perspective. We actually intimidated by Prof. Chia. We always respect him, and I keep scared of him because rumors always know by our seniors that Prof. Chia is very demanding. He always scolds students, and no one dare to approach him for money projects. That was the kind of thing that happened to me. So when I and Chan Yu want to knock into his door, and Chan Yu is my partner in money project, we work very closely, and he used to say that we have to throw away our IC outside his door, forget our ego, forget who we are, and just go in as like a selfless person. Only that you will not get, you will not feel your ego is hurt. Actually, it's not quite true. When I went into his room to work for him for the money project and also my master degree, I actually prepared myself very strongly. I said, whatever he would say to me, whatever he demands, I will just fulfill without any rejections. That is what I told myself. So I go in, see him very sincerely to ask for my new project. So we did this kind of project. And I found out that if you really work hard with him, he actually respects me. He never scolded me very seriously. So I realized his kindness, I realized his wisdom, not directly but indirectly. After many years of interactions, when I remember all the interaction moments with him, Then I realized that he imparts his teachings, his wisdom, implicitly. He don't tell you explicitly this is what we do, this is what we do. But he seems to always know things well. I thought that he is just a particle physicist. No, his knowledge must be very restricted to physics and science. And I think that I read a lot. But when I discuss and talk to him, I realize Prof. Chia seems to know everything from histories, from biology, from politics, everything. He seems to know much, much more than me. That is my realization after many interactions with him. So this story, I think it was in the final year. 6 of us, Rajesh, Okui, Tashi, me, and the other guy, that Chandu, we 6 of us went into his room to ask for final year project. That's it. So we arranged for meeting in the afternoon, in the lecture hall, in physics department. So I said, these are 3 projects. So just choose among yourself which project you like. So I said, okay, I'll take the challenge. Whatever project given to me, I'll just take, even if it's the hardest. So we are given 3 choices. We have 3 groups. So I think Rajesh and Bobby, their groups, it was like trying to pick the best project for them. So they pick this, they pick that, now I'll pick the last. So I picked the most difficult because I think they would tend to judge which project is easy. They pick the one that's easy. So I got to pick the last one. It was electron neutrino scattering at 3 levels. I think this is how project was distributed by Prof. Chia. He offered his final year project at 3 levels. Final diagram calculations involving 3 levels. 3 levels means it doesn't involve a loop diagram. So it's sort of like easier to calculate. When it comes to a master's degree, then he would offer loop level diagram. Later on, Wei and other students, they was doing much more difficult project which involved double loop. Double loop diagram or single loop diagram involve what John was saying, involve normalization and divergence. And the simple expression that he showed you actually requires months, not months, I think years of calculations. So during the time when we picked our project at 3 levels, I remember these things very clearly because I think Tashi and Rajesh, the same group. Rajesh, the same group with another guy. And then Rajesh and Bobby, Shashi and Bobby was in the same group. So they picked the which group is that they picked the easiest diagram. And then finally they realized that after 1 or 2 weeks of sorting out, sorry?
It cannot be harder.
Yeah, I think they counted the numbers of terms they have to validate. It involves W bosons. W bosons has a complicated, much more complicated vertex than the photons. But by the time before you do the calculation, we didn't know how long the calculation was. So this is the process. It's I think it's the WW collisions. And then after a few weeks, they found out that they have to spend like 64, 128 terms, which is impossible to finish in 1 semester. So then they end up have to change the project. So they think they pick the easiest calculation, end up to be the most difficult one. That was the story I remember with Prof. Chia. So I think final year we spent, we have to have a lot of graph paper, and then you rewrite down your calculation in a sort of another set of paper, which is like a final calculation. So I remember the final project, the graph paper is like this thick, and then when we was doing our master degree, it was like this thick. I think I still keep the calculations in my room. It's very thick. So this is the final result that we had. But I can remember all those graph paper that we throw away much larger instead. Our years, I think Prof. don't have many graduate students. His graduate students is Dr. Gopal. He is now a very established scientist. I always think that Puttara Dr. Gopal, who was Prof. Chia's first graduate student, with his master, is one of the highest achieving scientists in Malaysia. He's now working as the director in the research, the cancer research institute in the US. In pharmaceutical. So he works as a particle physicist, and then he proceeds on and had a very successful career in science. Then it was I think 1985. Later on, Prof. Chia has two more master students, but they named Chen Bin Jun. So we lost contact. I don't really see him. I did see him once in Prof. Chia's house, and the other one is Ho Yu San. I think Ho Yu San later on he went to US. I have no contact with him. So these are the seniors we have. We know them by name because we have to study their thesis very hard. So we take their thesis. Every single page we go through one by one line. So Buddha calculated the first final diagram at group level using unitary gauge. That was a very complicated gauge. Then Chung Jun take over and then he calculated in the two final gauge. So all our calculations, like John, Bobby, we all sort of like imitate the calculation performed by Chong and Buddha. I myself never read Ho Yu San's thesis, but I think it's more or less the same. So these pioneers laid down all the way how you can perform a calculation. We just mimic. So it's sort of a mechanical calculation, we just calculate. But we talk about India to study the theory. There was a time when Prof. Chia was giving this series of quantum field theory. I think there was a Japanese scientist. Remember the Japanese guy? What's the name? Mr. Takao. Takao Nami. So that is the Japanese who is teaching in the Taman Japan. So during our years 1995, so we had this lecture. So this Mr. Takao, he joined us to attend the lecture as well. So it was very memorable because he was just a teacher, but he was very interested in particle physics. So I remember him because before Mr. Takao he left for Japan later. To spend us a big banquet in Bangsa. And Prof. Chia, he likes it, so he brings us to Bangsa seafood. He just ordered the most expensive one, most expensive that I have ever had as a student, like 300 over. We shouldn't get that time. So we still remember he ordered this fish, prawns, big prawns, that's chopped into half. The head of the prawns is as big as the body. And then, of course, Mr. Takao would pay the bill. So there was a lot of memory with him. So the first year we did the quantum lectures. So I remember one occasion when came to room and he asked us, do you have any questions? I think we did something stupid. We said, Prof. Chia, what should, I think maybe it's Dr. who asked us. I'm not sure whether you asked or I asked. Say, Prof. Chia, what should we read for our project? Then Prof. Chia was quite angry, I think. He scolded us, he said, what do you expect me to teach you line by line, word by word, topic by topic, what to read? So that was what I remember right now. Then I come to the conclusion that actually he don't teach you like what I did now for my students. Then step by step, you do this, you do this. No, you don't. You go and figure out yourself, and then you go and report to him. So it's very fair, I think it's very free. He don't come after you, make sure that you do your work. If you don't do your work, you suffer the consequence. So I think there was a time when we played ping pong too much. Until 3 months, we never seen him. So we knocked into his door, and then he said, he reminded us that 3 months you don't come to see me. And then we realized that. So it takes us about quite a long time to study Bjorken and Ralph. I still remember very clearly we pronounced it as Bjorken, Bjorken. So he mentioned that he said this should be pronounced as Bjorken. The J should be pronounced as I because I think it's Danish. So I remember that well. So Bjorken and Ralph is a very classic old books. There was 2 books, Bjorken and Ralph, writing quantum mechanics, Team 1. There's another one called quantum field theory. So there was the book that he used, I think, during his years in the international game. By that time, there was very little quantum field theory book, but then we realized that, you know what, that are actually very difficult books. You don't read these books, you don't order them, but you don't read them, you read something else. I think we read Kaku book on quantum field theory. So we spent a lot of time doing calculations, and after a stage where you really feel you want to vomit, and that is what we did. So then Wai Liang was reserved. Wai Liang is now teaching in math schools. So he was a math student in upstairs in the high school. But he came to join us. He had his office in the school of in the Department of Physics. He took the table. He occupied that place. But we have a very nice years of that, full of memories. So that was the time when we played a lot and we enjoyed our life very much. But we also try to work very hard to calculate that stacks of calculations. You don't want to do that anymore. You do only once in a lifetime, that kind of loop diagram calculations. You have to check term by term, hundreds of terms. You have to check one sign gone wrong, then you wouldn't know whether the answer is wrong or not. You have to check very carefully. So when we submit the thesis, it's very important to renormalize the vortex functions. Make sure that the counter term cancel off with other terms. So I remember very clearly in 1997, I went to college to teach as a lecturer. Then he talked about some months to mark my thesis. Thesis was sent to Australia. Melbourne University, he got John McCallum, Bruce McCallum, his good friends in Melbourne University to grade our thesis. After some months, I got news from him, and he said, "Your counter terms doesn't cancel off with your." That was a shock. You spend so much time that you find out is finally it's actually not that serious. It's just that I forgot the minus sign. You have to have a plus sign and minus sign with the on shelf so that you cancel off. So it's a sign that is wrong, it's not the expression. So that really scared me up. It's very scary. You spend 3 years and you find that you're supposed to cancel the counter term, but it's just the sign. So you forget the counter term, the negative sign, and your thing doesn't get normalized. That was very nice, I think. And because of his introductions to John McCallum, Bruce McCallum, then I got an offer a scholarship to do my PhD in Melbourne University. I think that was a life-changing moment for me. I think if it's not because of Prof. Chia, I would get introduced to Melbourne University and study there. So I went to Melbourne and I did my PhD there on elementary particle physics. I'm not sure about Prof. I think I'm one of only one student of him who is continuing his academic legacy to pursue in the elementary particle physics. I think most in the early days, Prof. Jas was doing supersymmetric theories in Champaign. But I never know about his early works. I only know about his work with my calculations. So I think later parts of his career, most of the calculation is working within the standard models. When I went to Melbourne, I sort of like do an extension to the standard models to include the neutrino mass. But when I came back and looked back at his calculation, most of the calculation is working with the standard model, which are very, very difficult. Another moment I want to talk about is that the final projects actually offer two types of projects. Most of the projects offered is called final diagram calculations. So every year it came in, students who came in and he would pick different processes and then let the students to calculate. And then he also offered another type of which no one picked up somehow. It's called a numerical programming to solve three-dimensional Schrodinger equations. So for those who know quantum mechanics, in the last part, your SM301, we talk about three-dimensional solutions for hydrogen equations, for hydrogens in the Schrodinger equation. So you have to solve it numerically, and then he offered a kind of project, final year project. Why I mention this because I think a few years ago I was teaching a course called computational physics, and I think at the end of that one-on-one class, I have to assign projects. It's a 2 weeks project, so I assign this project to my students. So I'm supposed to solve the three-dimensional Schrodinger equations fully numerically and visualize them. Instead of one semester, they are doing in 2 weeks. So my students told me that they have to work hard day and night and don't stop. So it's a 1 semester final project squeezed into a 2 weeks project. I get that idea because I remember the project offered by Prof. I said, now we use Mathematica. I think I solve numerical project very easily. Why don't I complete this project? So this is one of the direct influence by him on me. to offer this project to him. And I think he also influenced me a lot in the way how I treat students. So he don't go after students. So I also somewhat influenced by him not go after my students, like he don't come and demand me what should we do, what you need. So he don't summon us, like he don't say come to see us at what time. So I think that is what I happen to do with my students as well. I don't ask my students to come to see me as well. I can't give a lot of examples, but I think it influenced me a lot in the way how I teach my students, how I approach the topics. But I think I have something quite sorry to him, because after being trained as a high energy physicist in the extension of cell models, when I went back to USM, I found out that actually I'm not as clever. It requires a lot of mathematical intuitions, a lot of theoretical ability, intelligence to be able to have novel idea in electric particle physics. Even I have a PhD in that field, I must admit that I don't have much intuitions about it. So I decided I can do things much better in computational field. So I shifted my field to something else instead of pursuing my research along this line. I think in the beginning of 2002 or 2003, I still come into contact with Prof. Jiang. I think he was mentioned about the project. This is how the students were doing with Prof. Guru. Somehow I get involved in the beginning step, in the initial stage. I said I will help him. We use mathematics to solve his model to fit in the parameter. But I think I was not serious at the time, so I never got the project to complete. So then I just abandoned it. I don't explain much about that. So Prof. Jiang may have levels. I think his influence on me is Dr. Joe. Not only on me, I think to many of us, yeah. Like my first year students, I asked him to come this morning, but somehow he didn't make it. Yeah, sure. So I think my first year students is an example where his influence has been is still relevant to even to the young generations. I think very recently. So he will always be with us. That's all I say.
Am I pronouncing correctly? You are in a finite potential that you can come up with. Anyway, I think we have seen the physics teachers and the students. Actually, we tried to finish at 11:45, but allowed extra flexibility. And the AGM can start by constitution at 12:30. So we are safe, don't worry. So can I call Bernadette for a second? Just sharing. We take turns.
Thank you, Guru. This is Jiang, family of Professor Jiang, fellow students who have been touched and influenced by Prof. Jiang and colleagues and friends. When I was asked to make this reflection, I was thinking back, that was the first time I ever saw Prof. Jiang. I think it was in second year lab. My first year at the university, 1977, 1978. He would be with a group of 2 or 3 lecturers taking charge of the rest of us, doing all those lab experiments. Not really much contact, but that was the first time I ever saw him. But he started to make a big impact in the final year of studies, undergraduate studies in the physics department. He taught quantum mechanics too, and also the elective of elementary particle physics, which I took. He brought a level of rigor to the course. There was something about him that when he started talking about the subject, you knew that this was someone who really knew what he was talking about. He knew the subject in and out. and he evidently loved the subject. That I think nowadays very hard to find lecturers or teachers who kind of not only show you they are technically very good, but their passion for the subject comes through. Especially elementary particle physics. He used the book by Perkins. And one of the things about that book, of course, started talking about symmetry and so on, but it also had pictures of the various physicists who made a contribution. And I noticed that when the picture came to T.D. Lee and C.N. Young, especially C.N. Young, his voice changed. You know? His voice changed. And I could sense that the very deep respect that he had. And also for C.S. Wu, he would always refer to her as Madam Wu. You know, and those of us who have know something about them would know why they're so important. I don't want to speak so much about that. But that sensing of you know, that respect. I noticed I learned something in his classes. He wrote, of course, those were the days when we didn't have all these slides and stuff like that. He wrote on the board. Like for his course, it was very important to not only copy what's on the board, but there were times he said very important things which he didn't write down. You know, and I had to listen and say, this thing he's saying, you know, there was a subtlety about Prof. Jia. As I think Dr. Wood was saying, that he doesn't really handhold you, you know, and you have to pick it up and you have to develop your sense and your taste. And I found that true of him. I liked so much his courses, the way he taught, that at the end of my studies in 1980, he was the first person I went to see to do my master's. I had already discovered that I was no good as an experimentalist. So I started looking for, you know, a theorist, and the first person in my mind, the epitome of the theorist was, of course, Professor Jia. So I knocked on the door, I went into his room, I just said, could I be your student? I forgot exactly what he said to me, but the result was, sorry, no. I didn't know at that time that he hadn't actually started taking graduate students. You know, I didn't know, I just walked in the door. As Dr. Yun was also mentioning, his first student was Gunaratnam Rajagopal. And he inherited Gunaratnam Rajagopal from Dr. H.D. Tan. He was H.D. Tan's student, and when H.D. Tan left the physics department, he said, okay, I have this student, SP, would you mind taking over the student? So, quite by accident, Prof. Chia today has many students because he was obliged to accept the first one. But that was a very good first choice. So, anyway, that's how it started. I remember the first conference I ever attended in 1980, and by that time I had happily joined as a student of Prof. A.S. Lau, not in high energy physics, but in heavy ion nuclear reactions. So a different field, but also still same passion. And we were as graduate students at Regent Hotel were forced to give our first talk in front of the public, you know. And we managed, and then that was the first occasion I ever had to see Prof. Chia give a presentation at a major conference. And one of the highlights of that conference was that it had various luminaries there, one of which was Prof. C.N. Yang, you know. And that's when we saw Prof. C.N. Yang was there. And he was there in the talk of Prof. Chia. And the thing, before Prof. Chia started to give his presentation, he looked at Prof. C.N. Yang and he said, kind of like bowed a little and he says, my humble contribution. And started. Being the immature person I am, and the rest of us, few who were immature, particularly, we were, you know, but as I've grown a little more mature, it helped. I began to realize how deep was the reverence, if I could use the word reverence, that Prof. Chia had on CNR, people like CS Wu and so on. You know, there's the in physics and science, there's a continuing tradition and legacy. And that gets passed on from, if you like, the supervisor to the student. And later on, as president of IFM, when Prof. C.N. Young and C.N. Young were present, I could still see that tremendous affection and that tremendous respect, you know, and it was always there. A few things else I just would like to say. As a graduate student, we never had graduate school, which was a sad thing, I feel. But I do remember the time when, I don't know who suggested it, but Prof. Chia taught us it's either relativistic quantum mechanics or quantum field theory. He volunteered to teach us. I think now you might have been there as well. There were just a few of us. And you know, we were already doing our own project, and you know, we were trying to follow, but I think we just couldn't keep up with the material. It's just too bad because he was so generous with his time and effort to want to educate us, you know, and we couldn't really follow through with it, which is a bit of a regret for me. I like visiting Prof. Chia's office. I think he, like me, are a lover of physics textbooks and other things to do with physics. So I have my stash at home and in my own office. So when I used to visit Prof. Chia, I would scan what's on his shelf. You know? I'd say, oh, that's this classic book is there, that classic book is there. Oh, with admiration and some envy, you know. I would be looking and I'd say, oh. But in the times that I looked at that, there was something that stood out for me about Prof. Chia. Although he had many books, he had only one photograph. Okay? Only one photograph. And by that time, I began to understand that Prof. Chia was someone who was very subtle. You know, he was not an in-your-face kind of person. He was a very subtle person. And that implies that an inverse proportionality was at work. When you have not very many things, it's not very important. But when you have only one, that is essential. And so when I looked at that photo and I said, and I saw it was a photo of Professor and Mrs. Chia, I think it was their wedding photo if I'm not mistaken, there in pride of place in the office. And I had that sense and confirmed ever since in the interactions. Every time I saw Prof. Chia, Mrs. Chia would always be there. You know, that there was that very deep devotion, if you don't mind me saying so. A very deep devotion. More than the devotion, he had a devotion for his physics, his science, his knowledge. But underpinning that was that great devotion of his family life. And especially that when with his children as well. I remember when we had gatherings at the house of Prof. A.S. Lau, maybe it's either Mooncake Festival or some other festival, we'd gather and the children would come and play the piano or the violin or something pretty small then. That sense of family and the sense of community, I thought that was really beautiful and I appreciate so much about Prof. Chia. And if I start to think about what, in fact, I mean, he was certainly a knowledgeable expert in his field. He was, but the person of Prof. Chia, the person who was at one end subtle and so intuitive and also such a deep and generous and humble soul. I think that to me I will always remember. His love for life. I will miss most his laughter. You know? Every time, you know it's an IFM meeting when you hear Prof. Chia laugh. You know, it's all's well in the world. You know, it's an IFM meeting. You know, and it's still in my memory hear that laughter and experience again the joy and the gratitude I have in my heart of having had the opportunity to know and to learn and to some sense loved the person who meant so much to all of us who we are honoring today. So, Mrs. Chia and family of Prof. Chia, all of us here, we really have a deep affection for Prof. Chia. He means so much to us, and that legacy will always continue.
Condolences to the family and loved ones, passing away. Although domiciled in the chemistry department, the scientific activities were centered in physics, chemical physics, and applied mathematics. Through a very early acquaintance with Guru and faculty meetings, I became acquainted with Prof. Chia, who was a leader and pillar of the Institute of Physics Malaysia that I was and still am associated with. He was also head of the Center for Theoretical and Computational Physics when UM started to organize its research area, where this center's interest was quoted for papers published by all members, such as myself. Of crucial importance to me in our many conversations spanning nearly 3 decades was that he could be very blunt and frank concerning the situation of physics in this country and the unnecessary obstacles that were placed by certain powers in our administration that retarded development in the physical and mathematical sciences. Being a theoretical physicist, he had a comprehensive understanding of the importance of the fundamental sciences, physics and mathematics in particular, that is the basis of other disciplines in education and research. He worked hard to emphasize this fact and requirement in the many consultative and academic positions that he held, as, for instance, Mr. Chow Wen Hua, Chia Song Chai, Ang Teo Seng, Ching Peng Hong, amongst many others who have emphasized this fact. He had a sense of humor which could lighten the somewhat oppressive atmosphere that many institutions in the third world have had to endure, including the University of Malaya. He was always very kind and encouraging to me in the very frustrating environment that some of us had to operate under. He was extremely enthusiastic learning physics and was never dogmatic, always allowing for novel points of view to be heard and expressed in the media and in the meetings. When I use the word media, I suppose I include also the journals that okay. This freedom is essential in any successful scientific environment. He was very clear and articulate in his conversations. His lectures were, I'm told, almost legendary in terms of organization, clarity, and content. With his passing away, we lose another remarkable individual of that generation of competent scientists who were largely self-made due to the many sacrifices that they had to make in order to acquire the skills, discipline, and intellectual rigor required for creative, independent, and unsupervised research in this nation. He is a loss to to this country and will be sorely missed by all concerned. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Can you put this in a nutshell? Next speaker is Professor Tao Teck Yong, who recently represented IFM. And he will explain to you more in Taiwan.
Right. I think most of us, all of us are affected by Share economy here, especially the student here. I wasn't really a master student from Share before, and I believe, I think we were somehow very much affected by Share because it was always around in the department, and we always pay attention to other students when he had no student at that time. And that's why we were quite close to him. One of the lecturers that we were always close to him because of he's always walked around and talk to us. Okay, I went to UN 1979, and one of the first lecturers that I met is Coach. And until the last few months, I think I still met up with him. He also, somewhere along the line, I think in my career, he actually appear at the right moment when I need some help. Okay. So I retired 2 days before he passed away, and 1 week later, somewhere around middle of March, I received an email, actually 2 emails, one from University of Tokyo and one from Synchrotron in Lucas, Australia, looking for me. They were also very much affected by Prof. Chia passed away, and they asked me, because the secretary of this Synchrotron Radiation Council in Asia Oceania, of which Prof. Chia was an associate council member, he remembered me when I organized the perfect conference in 2010 somewhere in Lumut. So he kept my email, and he wanted someone from Malaysia to give a commemorative speech in Taipei, which is sometime about 2 weeks before 10th of June this month. So he contacted me. I said, oh, I can't represent him. So I talked to Prof. Guru said, why don't you just say something? So they gave me 10 minutes to give a speech in Taipei 3 weeks ago. So this is what I prepared. So I did a little bit of research, and with the help of my wife, Dr. Ching, of Guru and other people in IFM. So this is I share with you what I did for Prof. Chia, and this was presented in Taipei, Taiwan International Convention Center. So Prof. Chia was born on the 12th November 1945 in Pantai Remis, and he has 3 daughters and 1 son, as we know, and this is a Pantai Remis. And in 2010, the National Physics was specially organized. The banquet was in Pantai Remis. I asked Prof. Chia for help, and then he said, oh, let's go to Pantai Remis. It's a very nice seafood. So everybody loved it. And they remember, those Synchrotron guys remember until today. Okay. And his education, the most of you know, Chongqing High School for secondary, and then UM for a bachelor's degree, plus master and PhD in Illinois. So I don't go too far. Let's move. Next. And my wife summarized the academic career of Prof. Chia all the way. So I think we took a little bit of short part of the video about what Prof. Chia said about himself. Next. So the 3 important aspects of his career was the University of Malaya, where he did his study and his whole career. The second was the IMT, where I think he contributed a lot in the academic management, also The other one that actually affecting a lot is when he went to the University of Texas, where he listened to the talk about supersymmetry, and he started changing his research. Okay, next thing. And so this is something that about him. He contributed a lot in INTI, when he was in INTI, internal academic quality assurance. And internal research, I can only summarize two things because I was only given about less than 10 minutes in Taipei. I only summarized that he did two important parts. Two important research is life, one is about education, the other one is about supersymmetry. So I only try to summarize about a lot of his work in the early years. He mainly single authorships, and they say a lot of things about how good he was in his research. Next. So I must have mixed up quite a number of people over here. So this was what I could actually get. And I only want to highlight one student of all you partly personal, okay, because when I went to ANU to do my postdoc, he bought my motorbike. When I came back, I sent him to Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. He's supposed to do his PhD, but he didn't do his PhD in Hong Kong. He went to US and continued with a different part of research. So what I can gather online that he is one of the most cited physicists in 2014. Now he's in Missouri and working on topological insulator. Last few years he came back and he came to see me quite often. In fact, he gave me some sample, asked me to make some topological insulator film for him, which I haven't done. Okay, next. And so I just trying to summarize what Prof. Chia has done in his contribution to society. First, President of IFM, which you all know. The second one is about the national physics and physics Olympia, and he has become a senior academician as a very high level of recognition in the country, and he's always promotes science. It's not just about this elementary particle. He will go around the country to promote science. And he served in any grant and work committee and a very fair reviewer all the time. So it's inspired teacher and mentor. It's personal to me, which whenever he always contacted me sometime about can you help me, or can we work together in organizing conference or things like that. Right, so we have a dinner. I had a dinner with Dr. Wu and the daughter before I went to Taipei with my wife. And so I only put up the last slide, and also I say I represent Institute of Physics when I go to Taipei, is to thank the organizer for inviting me IFM to give the commemorative speech in Taipei. So this was done within 10 minutes. All right, thank you.
Can I invite one?
Good afternoon. First of all, probably I'm one of Prof. Chia's older students. In the early 70s, I was the undergraduate in the physics department, and I took two courses. One was mathematical methods, where I learned all the Laplace transform, Bessel's functions, and then quantum mechanics too. It's quite challenging. I was in the applied physics stream, not so much with theoretical physics. Anyway, I was very much attracted to Prof. Chia's lecture with such elegance, the beauty of physics and the rigor. I haven't come across any physics teacher like him. such a good teacher who could explain things. You can see the elegance, more or less you can see the beauty of God in all the equations and all the physics theory. And then I left the mainstream physics. I went to medical physics, which was at that time it's really unheard of, unknown. It's a challenge. And then later I worked with Prof. Chia in the Institute of Physics while he was the president. Now while I was journeying in Scotland, one day I met Brett's student, William Brett. Imagine, I was traveling and I was invited at the tea. We chat a lot. Imagine, right? I can boast, I met William Brett student, Brett. Oh, one day some of you will see, I was once Prof. Chia's student. Can you imagine that? I come back to Brett. Now, those of you in particle physics, you know why this, but didn't realize that the particle physics and quantum mechanics come a long way. Today, we have this particle accelerator. We heard of proton therapy is coming up very strongly, not in Malaysia, unfortunately. Our neighbor, Thailand, they will complete the construction end of this year, and we'll send our patients to Thailand to be treated proton therapy. The second one is on construction, and Singapore is one, and Indonesia is going to start. Unfortunately, Malaysia isn't going to start for another 30 years, and we have a lot of work to do. We need to convince the politicians, the medical doctors about physics. They are so ignorant. They talk about particle, all the physics, they get scared or equations, and they're very worried, will this cause an explosion and so on. So we have lots of education with the public, otherwise we left well behind. Another one contribution is carbon, heavy ion therapy. Probably like people like Kes Rao, S.P. Chia, never thought in the lifetime all this theory to be applied to save humankind. And this is the work I'm doing in medical physics. So this is important to see how particle physics is really have useful application. I'd like to give a couple of wise words, and I think I'm old enough to say that. If you could, you all talk about with students or Prof. Chia, I'd like to suggest that why not you compile like Prof. Chia's papers, his work, and your thesis on paper as a collection, and that would be wonderful, and that would be a celebration of Prof. Chia's legacy. Why not you do that? Why not be publishing both in paper, text, or videos, recording pictures, playing ping pong, and others. And I think we would like to suggest to IFM Top Guru, where you can start a prize, a medal, right? S.P. Chia's prize, a medal for the best student or whatever it is. And that you can see that his legacy is one.
After this, I can invite anyone who wants to speak. But we'll end with the family.
Hi. From the realm of physics, I will then take you to the realm of academic operations. Another aspect of the Chia. I'm a former staff of INTI, and therefore we are looking into academic operations, academic administration. Now, I will start by presenting a tribute from a former INTI staff who couldn't make it today because he's out of the country. His name is Dr. Lee Su. He was the former director of the SAM Center. At one stage at the campus in Malacca at Subang, and then later on at the Line campus. So let me read. And he's actually very fastidious. In his script, after a few sentences, he will put in bracket, count 1 to 5. In ours, long enough for everyone to absorb it. But he gives me the liberty to edit it. So I'm going to edit out and try to shorten it a little bit. So let me start. Dear friends, have you ever wondered why we unconsciously store treasures in our memory banks? But what are these treasures? My definition of such hidden treasures is the tiny bits of memories or wise advice given to us. That is, words from a friend, it dawned upon me that if I don't share this little story, which is unknown to many, it will be lost one day. First, Professor Dr. Chia helped us by moderating many exam papers, often at short notice. This is before he joined INT. In other words, I was still at University of Malaya. I remember in 1996, I drove to University of Malaya to meet and explain to him the urgency of getting the papers moderated quickly. He was a very busy man, but he obliged willingly. Second, he brought improvements to the examination board and the examination system after he joined INT. He joined INT in 1999. If I get my information correct, I hope I'm right. He left in 2007. So when he left at that time, he was actually the senior vice president of INT. When he joined, it was INT College of Malaysia, the Nilai campus. When he left, he was already upgraded to INT University College. And of course, at the time, the Nilai campus is the main campus. So although he was a senior vice president of that campus, in terms of academic thingy of every matters, he has overseen as well all the branch campuses. So let me continue. So his sharp insight and wise suggestions led to several sound practices in the assessment processes. This was especially critical as the INT group of institutions offered a plethora of programs at various levels, really many levels. And he named all of it, so I just say various levels. Third, he was approachable and helpful. In 2001, he started the INT Journal. Then Dr. Chia helped us by selecting a group of professors and academicians to be in the panel of advisors. Then he had the foresight and helped us to set up a proper framework for our journal, the INT Journal. He also arranged for me to understudy with some of you may know Dr. Yong Wai Sing. He's also from the University of Malaya. I wouldn't know the full name of the faculty, but he's actually on the biological side of science. Who had vast experience in editing journals. Looking back, I'm thankful for having met Dr. Chia and to have benefited from his advice and guidance. And Dr. Yusuan gave this poem. By the way, Dr. Yusuan is also quite poetic. He does a lot of writing on poems. And actually, I forgot to mention earlier on is that when he called me, actually he's in Melbourne at the moment. When he called me to ask whether I can present this to today, I said yes, I'll be very happy. And then he went on and talk. And then said, yeah, he's going to write a poem. So I said, fine, Doctor, just do what you want, I will read it out. I nearly regretted because he went on to talk about, hey, I have my guitar, he can compose songs. So I started having horrifying thoughts. I said, Doctor, I will read out your whatever writing, the poem, don't ask me to sing. So no singing. So the poem is by a lady called Mary Angelou. The title is Trying to be a Rainbow in Someone's Cloud. So the poem goes in this way. He was a friend, sincere and kind. One you could rely on time after time. In case you need someone to clear your doubt, he was your rainbow over your cloud. Dr. Chia may not know this, but his suggestions gave us bright ideas for the enhancement of quality in our academia. If I'm asked, how would you best think of him, I shall say this: a sparkling scientist, educator, whose colorful rainbow glows brighter whenever he helped us. For he made a sparkling difference in my journey with the academia of INT education. In 2011, I called him and had a cup of coffee with him at the canteen near his office at University of Malaysia. We had a review of the academic improvements during his tenure at INT. That delightful and relaxing meeting was the last time I met him. So this is actually Dr. Lee Suhan's tribute. So I'll just go on just a short one. Okay, my name is Art. I was in INT for a long time. And of course, Dr. Chia, and of course, most of us in INT, we refer to him as Dr. Chia. He was actually my immediate superior. I was course, one even say metaphorically speaking, and Hokkien, I'll translate it, trembling, the board of Dr. Chia chairing the examinations board. And of course, I being a member, I can see that he can get very upset for very good reasons when it's not done properly. And he eventually stopped those board meetings and sent the heads of programs not back to the kitchen to do homework, but back to the office to really clean up. So quite a few times he did that. And of course it's good because in academic operations, we need that in order to maintain integrity. And the other character of Dr. Chia is that when we had meetings among the deans and the academic directors, of course some of us are more vocal, and of course I'm one of them. And at times we ended up with heated arguments with Dr. Chia. One thing good about his character is that once the meeting is over, that's it. We compartmentalize things. He did not carry it to other aspects or even to the next day or even outside the conference room. And that's one character that I always remind myself, because as a dean, I also have some lecturers who are quite challenging. Then when it really irked me, then I will recall that, I need to irk Dr. Chia sometimes. So if he can take it, I must be able to take it from the lecturers that were reporting to me, right? And with his character, and I also have two indirect supervisors, superiors, and they all have the same character, meaning that they compartmentalize all this. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why I stayed very long at IT. I'm not promoting it here, I'm just sharing. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I've seen a different side of how SP used to the private sector. I think we are running short of time, so I think it's time to invite Yuchi to represent the family. And please, for those who are paid for the memorial, please wait to take a group photo of this. And we must start AGM 12:30.
No longer good morning. On behalf of the family, I'd like to say thank you to, can you hear me actually? Okay. So thank you to IFM, thank you to members of the Education Physics Subgroup, and to all of you today for the effort, for the words of tribute, for all the love. I grew up with a pet scientist. I literally grew up with a mad scientist. Not only was he brilliant, he was good at everything. I was a difficult child. I always thought I knew everything, but no, my father knew everything. The thing is that we always thought we will have more time with him. We somehow thought he would be always there. It hasn't been easy, but it helps to know that he made a difference to so many people. That he will be remembered. And in that sense, he's still with us. Now coming here, I knew that a lot of people will be speaking about his talent, outstanding talent, as a physicist, as an educator, as a mentor, as a friend, as a visionary, as an inspiration. So it's a long list. So I thought I would say a few words about him, about his character, why he deserves to be admired, not only for what he's done, but for who he is. I think the first thing is that my father was an incredibly generous man. He was generous with his time, his resources, his intelligence, his ideas, his wonderful brain. He taught, he motivated, he helped. He made things possible. He had a big heart. He had focus. And he put it into everything that he did, whether it was his research, his students, his beloved physics, IFM, the realm of education, INTI, did. He took moral sense. He always stood for what is right, and it was his way of life. He had a moral compass inside, and it was very powerful, especially when it's combined with his eloquence. I mean, he's a scientist, you know, not artistic, not supposed to be, but he was very eloquent, and he had a lot of courage, a lot of character. So growing up, it was many times very frustrating, because he would just never take the easy way. He had to do things right. He was always about the principle. How many times have you heard him say that? It's about the principle. But this inflexibility of his has shaped my character and what made him so inspiring is that he's a self-made man. In his time, in his childhood, he didn't have exposure or experience or peers or internet for what he would come to achieve. But he found his way, and he spent his life opening doors and paving roads so that others could too. It couldn't have been easy. Although listening to him tell his stories, it always sounded so easy, so smooth. You know, you laugh at it and you're jumping out and always sounded so easy. I once asked him, how do you handle all the stress and the pressures that you must face? And he always just said, you know, don't take it on, let it go right through you. It's so simple concept. I never really understood then. I've started to understand it a little bit better now. But yes, that was one of his gems of wisdom. It's always so simple, so precise, so perfect, elegant. Now, we've been sorting out his things, and it's very beautiful. His life's work, neatly written notes, his brilliance condensed into pages of symbols and calculations that none of us as kids understood or fully appreciated. Clippings of interviews and accolades and letters of appreciation that we received, boxes of them, tucked away in a corner, never framed to be hung on walls as trophies because that's just not real. But we're also struggling, we don't have enough walls. House of correspondence between Dad and his peers from all corners of the world, discussions of their work, sharing ideas, banter on their lives, their loves, their days, private jokes, intellectual interludes, open honesty, insights into the day-to-day lives of friends. And that was my father. He always did what he loved, and he always loved what he did. He was never for praise or pomp or recognition, and he was one of the kids. You know, to us, he was always just Dad. Lover of good food, practical jokes. He had a lot of wit and loads of fun. He was a simple man, easy to please. As long as he can enjoy meals and treats together, he was happy. But happiness is a peaceful mind and a peaceful life, and that was essentially what he wanted to teach us. Being at peace doesn't mean that you strive less to achieve, but rather that you manage the inner equilibrium so that you're at peace with the most volatile of environments, the most hectic of schedules, and the most crushing of pressures. He always had so much on his plate, and he was always having more. Anyone who called him to be there, literally, forcing him, but at least with his goals. But he was always happy with the simple things in life, and he was always at peace. A realistic one, but optimistic. He always said, you know, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. He taught me how to dance when I was a kid, and the first thing we did was cha-cha. So a little later in life, when I started to take curveballs, he always guided me through it. You know, Master, I want to step back, you know, like a cha-cha. And he would always say, break it down, go back to basics. And it always turned out well. So even as adults, he continues to inspire us, although we never really told him. I think he knew. Well, life now is about what would Dad do? It's not quite the same, it's not by a long shot, but it's all in times I can almost hear him say, go back to basics, think. So may we have the courage and character to always walk in his footsteps, continue his legacy.
Thank you. I thought I should finish it up, but because of time constraints, those of you who were here at the beginning of the new talk, but it doesn't matter. I think what's the common theme that we do this? It's the kindness of the man I have met in my life. It's the kindness. And I will miss it. I really miss it. I think many of us miss it. God bless you so. Thank you very much for coming. And in a few minutes, we're going to take a photograph. I need a few hands to carry the